Everybody, Rosematter here, and welcome to part 92 of my Umineko Let's Play. The last episode, it was really cool. Probably one of my favorite episodes of Umineko that I've done in a while, where the game actually gave me all of the information of Bernkastel's game, and I had to use the clues to figure out who the culprit of her game is, and it took me a couple of tries. It took me some time, but eventually I got to the answer. So in this game, the culprits are Badler, Kyrie, and Rudolph. That's really interesting. Uh, Badler actually being a culprit who's apparently killed people in this game with the help of his parents. So with that, like the answers given, I guess now we're going to maybe go into like the details of how everything went down. What Bernkastel has planned for this game, now that we figured it out, I'm not quite sure. She's making it seem like it's a pretty straightforward game, but we always know there's something up her sleeve. I feel like there's more to it than that. So anyway, let's get back into it and let's see what happens next. Ah! Finally. Angie flew out of the guest house sobbing. Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense when you think about it. Because Bernkastel, like, she wants to make a game to, I guess, punish Badler. But maybe also Angie. And, like, of course, what's the worst case scenario would be her own immediate family being murderers. Like, you saw how she reacted when she saw Kyrie and Rudolph kill everybody in the previous chapter. Was there anyone still alive on this island? When she checked the cousin's room earlier, it had been completely empty. However, she remembered she hadn't seen Badler's body, or George's, or Maria's. What she didn't know was whether this meant they were safe, or whether she was about to be reunited with them as corpses. So now she's got to confront the fact that, like, her dear brother is also a murderer. I guess this is Bernkastel's last, like, fuck you, is like, yeah, alright, you may have solved my game, but I'm gonna make it as miserable as possible. She dashed around through the rain. Where was she going? Nowhere in particular. The lost little sister dashed around in circles, searching for her brother, drenched with rain and all alone. Eventually, I thought I heard my brother's voice from beyond a bush. No, it wasn't just his voice. I heard George Oni-chan and Maria Oni-chan's voices, too. Is she gonna, like, turn the corner just in time to see Badler kill them, too? I called out at the top of my lungs, but they didn't answer. But it's okay now, but I guess she's an observer. She's not part of this, because she is not one of the pieces here. They're right there, but she's gonna watch it. Just on the other side of the fence. And that's Bernkastel being like, oh yeah, Badler wants to show you, like, a sweet little fun game where you're reunited with your family and you're all having fun. Well, I'm gonna show you a horrible side where it's like your family that you love so much are just brutal killers. I could even faintly see them through the fence. When I ran around the fence, I found myself standing in front of a shed or something. It must be a shed to store tools for the rose garden. Must be a shed to store tools for the rose garden. The three of them were standing in front of the shed. Oh my gosh, this is like old school. This is like from the very beginning. Like with the whole thing with the shed. That was the very first game, wasn't it? When you found everybody in the shed in the Twilight, the first Twilight. I cried out, but my voice didn't reach them. Even though I yelled so loudly, something felt very wrong about all this. When people hear a voice, even when they pretend not to have heard it, their bodies tend to show some sign that they've noticed. However, there was no trace of that in the three of them. Even though I was screaming so loud, it truly wasn't reaching their ears. The instant I understood that, my dash towards them slowed and came to a halt. Though we appeared to be in the same world, we were actually in different worlds entirely. It was like a TV, or was it more like ghosts? I could see them clearly, but as far as they were concerned, I didn't exist. After all, look, even if I stand right in front of them, their eyes can't see me. If I try to touch them, will I really be able to? What if my hand just goes right through? I was so scared at the thought that I could do nothing but stand there in shock, even though I was so close to them.
島の外から何者かが入り込んでるんだ。そしてそいつが後ろ宮家を皆殺しにしてるんだ。
It's funny because we know that he's one of the perpetrators.
どんなに閉じこもっても必ず誰かが殺されてしまう。やっぱりこれは魔女の仕業。
みんな落ち着いて考えよう。この島には後ろ宮家の人間以外は存在しないんだ。
そんなはずはねえぜ。だって現にこうして後ろ宮家の誰にも不可能な殺人が何度も起こってるじゃねえか。
それはそうだけど、本当にそうだろうか。僕たちには見落としがあるんじゃないだろうか。
見落としって？
例えば、そうさ、死んだふりとか。この島に後ろ宮家の人間しかいない以上、犯人だとしたら僕たちが死んだと思い込んでいる誰かが実は死んでなかったということになる。
しかし兄貴、それはありえねえぜ。全員の死体を必ず誰かが検視してる。死んだふりなんか絶対にできねえはずだ。
考えたくはない。でもその検視
Oh,
さえも
George is pretty clever.
偽られているとしたら、
I'm surprised Badler left him at the end. I mean, everybody's gonna die eventually. We didn't see the full game. Because everybody has to die. Maybe he's like, I can't... Because this is at the very end, right? This is Maria, George, and Badler. So this is after they found Jessica. The Badler's like, alright, I'm gonna have to shut you up. You're catching on.
つまりこういうことさ。犯人は初めから複数犯だったんだ。そして一人は殺されたふりをして、一人は間違いなく
Oh, and George is like, by process of elimination, maybe he is like, and it can't be Maria, so the only other person it could be is you. Well, you and the people that you're working with, and who else would he work with but his parents? Maybe. Is Angie gonna see Badler just kill George right here? Because that's what Bernkastel's game's all about, is inflicting, like, torture. Well, not torture, that might be. Although, Angie's was pretty torturous last episode. What? So as Bernkastel was just enjoying her, realize that her parents are, like, brutal killers, and now even her beloved brother as well. It's like Bernkastel, like, set this up to make it the most painful people it could possibly be for Angie. I mean, I don't want to see Badler do this either. Goes against, like, everything I know about him.
南條先生は殺された。殺された以上、犯人ではないと考えるのが妥当だろう。そして、お医者である南條先生の検視が一番信頼できたと考える。
Well, based on past games, not quite. If so, then we can probably assume the people whose death Nanjo checked were almost certainly dead. Who did Nanjo check? Genji's corpse, Kraus and Natsui's corpses, Shannon's corpse, Goda and Kumasawa's corpses. Yeah, this is where he's gonna get at. It's just like, I checked my parents, you checked yours. And then there was Rosa as well. And Badler is like, him being over emotional like that, like, that's not out of character. If George was like that, that would be one thing. It's like he's using his emotion to try and sway George to be like, you're on the right track, but I'm gonna make you feel bad about it.
僕もちょっと
Oh, wow.
混乱してたみたいだ。
Whether George is just backing down for now or he truly feels bad about suggesting that.
ジョージお兄ちゃんはシャノンを
Yeah.
殺さないよ
Mari's the one figuring it out. She's piecing it together. So it's like, if it's not you, although we certainly know that Ava would definitely kill Shannon. And that's what kind of got me tripped up when I was doing it last. I was so I was suspecting George so much. It's not just because I don't like George, guys, I promise. But then I was like, well, if he teamed up with his parents, I could definitely see Ava going behind George's back and killing Shannon to get rid of her. At that point, I feel like George would, like, lose it on his parents and kill them.
もうよせよ。俺たちの誰も親族を殺したりするわけなんかねえだろ。
だからジョージお兄ちゃんがお父さんとお母さんが本当は生きてるのに死んでるなんて嘘をつかないと思う。
I love it. Maria's just not reading the room at all. She's like, I'm gonna solve this.
ジョージお兄ちゃんはシャノンが殺されるような事件の片棒を担ぐわけがない。
Calmly, as though answering a quiz or a puzzle, Maria spoke to George. She's treating this like I did, which was basically like, it's just a whodunit. It's a puzzle. It's a riddle. She's just figuring it out. Then, with a blank look on her face, she turned to Badler and spoke.
バトラはお父さんとお母さんの死体を見たよね。
ああ、見たさ。みんなも見ただろ。あんな血まみれで、ひでえ死に様で。
バトラが嘘をついてると思う。
He's savage sometimes. I love her.
どうしてそうなるんだよ。
そうすると筋が通る。
She's saying what George was afraid to say. He was implying it, but...
最初の食堂でバトラの両親は死んでなかったの。その片方が夏日おばさんたちを殺し、内側から鍵を閉めて部屋にとどまる。もう片方がそれ以降の殺人を引き継いだ。ゲストハウスの密室を破るには内側に協力者がいなくてはならない。
See, that's the part that was tripping me up, was that locked room in the second Twilight. So they never left, because they had the two people. They had Rudolph and Kyrie. So one person just had to stay in there, because the whole thing was like, well, someone couldn't have slipped out. That's the thing. They never slipped out in the first place. They just stayed there.
それがバトラ。全部説明がつくよ。
いい加減にしろ。
Is he about to kill Maria right now? I mean, we know he got to kill everybody, right? There's got to be only them left over so they can get all the money.
マリアちゃんも。
やっと頭の中の狼と羊のパズルがぴったりと収まった。犯人はバトラ一家。おお、正解？
何を言ってやがんだ。
正解よ。
Oh shit. Oh shit, Kyrie. Here we go. And Angie has to watch all this. The voice came from behind Angie. She spun around, surprised. There, covered in blood, yet wearing cheery expressions, were Rudolph and Kyrie.
ルドルフおじさん、キリエおばさん、無事で。
After saying that, George realized what the words meant, and his face twisted into an expression of shock and horror. Maria wasn't surprised. However, she showed no joy at having her answer proven correct. And as for Badler, Angie saw it. Oh, a terrible expression that she would never forget as long as she lived. I don't want to see it! I know it's not real, but, like, Badler has never been the quote-unquote bad guy during all this. Oh, I don't like it. It was a demon's smile, a hideous demon that she'd never be able to look at again, twisted its face into a foul grin. And the truly horrible thing was that she saw it on her brother's face. Yes, of course. Of course, like, Bern probably knew that they were going to solve it eventually. But she wanted it to be, like, if this wasn't for Badler and Beato, not really. I feel like this was for Angie, just to twist the knife once more, just to make her have to see this again. Except now with Badler, too. Rudolph and Kyrie lifted up the guns they had been holding behind them. The barrels were pointed at the foreheads of George, who was staggering backwards, and Maria, who was grinning, as though she didn't care what happened. No, she gets to go to the Golden Land. She doesn't care. There was a flash of lightning and a crack of thunder. Nothing more could be heard. Then as George and Mario were snapped around by that roar, the strings holding them were snipped. The two dolls fell into puddles with a splash and stopped moving. All this occurred right before Angie's eyes. Damn, that's fucking badass, though. Like, part of me's like, I don't want to see Battler like that, but I'm like, oh, he looks real cool, though. Ange, who stood stunned beside them, wasn't visible to their eyes. Like, Bern was using the cat to lure her to see this on purpose, right? They guffawed, not go off. What is go off's not even a word. Guffawed, overcome with laughter. And right in front of Ange, they started joking and complimenting each other on their kills so far. The three hideous faces, the faces of her family, made Ange want to cry and vomit at the same time, and she felt as though she would suffocate. Ange dashed away, covering her mouth. She wanted to escape the disgusting laughter coming from her beloved family as soon as possible. Then she slipped and fell face down into a puddle of mud. Ange didn't try to get up. In fact, she instead chose to cover her ears to block out the disgusting laughter she could still hear. It's like Battler wants Ange to see the best of her family, and Bern wants her to see the worst. As she did, from the shadows of the fences and bushes in this inky black rose garden, several dark things slipped into sight. Interesting, we're seeing these guys again. Ange looked around her in surprise to see that eerie black shapes had appeared from all over the garden and were slowly surrounding her. It was a crowd of people with goat heads. Their outfits were all different. Some wore suits, while others were dressed casually. However, all of them were covered with darkness, and all of them had goat heads. Ange, bewildered, accidentally let her hands fall from her ears. By now, she couldn't hear that disgusting laughter. However, in its place, she could hear the words spoken by the goats. As the goats continued to mumble in eerie voices, they surrounded Ange and began to draw nearer. They all pressed around her, each of them speaking of Ange's family as the culprits. At first, everyone had joined in on the Eva culprit theory. Sole survivor from Rokenjima had gotten almost all the wealth to herself, so the theory was only natural. Why would Ushiromiya Eva, the only one who escaped, or why was Ushiromiya Eva the only one who escaped to Kuadorian? And why did she refuse so stubbornly to talk about what happened that day? It was decided that the Eva culprit theory explained all of this. However, when Eva died of illness, and people learned that all the vast wealth she had created by unscrupulous means would go to Ange, public opinion, or rather the forgers, created a new culprit theory and spread it around. This was the Rudolph's family culprit theory. If it was normal for everyone to come to the family conferences, why was Ange the only one who didn't come this time? Did Rudolph's family have some reason for not bringing the young Ange with them? They did take Battler, but he wasn't Kyrie's son. Well, about that. Then, when it was revealed in some magazines that Kyrie's family had close ties to a massive gangster organization, all eyes suddenly gathered on Kyrie herself. And the truth was also laid bare about how Rudolph had made a killing out of fraudulent business practices. And almost immediately, the couple became thought of as the most suspicious people on the island. Hideyoshi and Ava's company might have been rough, but at least it had operated within the law. However, the more Rudolph's company was investigated, the more dirt was dug up. Furthermore, trouble surrounding some party tickets from the time Rudolph and Kyrie were students were also testified to. It was clear they were far more suspicious than Ava's family. And so, in a flash, the Rudolph family culprit theory expelled the other conspiracy theories, including the Eva culprit theory, and reigned as the greatest of them all. It wasn't really because it was more plausible than the Eva culprit theory. They had just gotten bored of the old theory and wanted a new sensation. goat seemed to bend and undulate. The sky rapidly turned white, becoming a ceiling lit by fluorescent lamps. The goats had changed completely, becoming the shapes of girls wearing goat masks. All the girls were wearing the same clothes, and now we're going to Angie's school. This is really... Poor Angie, she's just being tortured in, like, every game that she's a part of. It was the uniform of St. Lucia Academy.
本当の犯人はルドルフとキリエなんだって。聞いた聞いた。そうだよね。娘だけ置いてくなんてなんかおかしいもんね。後宮エヴァって確か本人は毒殺されてるって訴えてんでしょ。じゃあもう黒幕は誰か明白じゃん。
Oh gosh, now they're saying Angie's the culprit. Essentially.
一族の財産すべて独り占めなんでしょ。やっぱルドルフ一家犯人説だって思ってたんだよね。後宮さんってどこかおかしいって思ってたんだよね。おかしいと思ってたよね。ルドルフとキリエが犯人。バトラも犯人じゃないの。ルドルフ一家犯人説。ルドルフとキリエが犯人。財産を独り占めにしようとしたんだけどエヴァに返り討ちにあってそれで失敗して。でも結局は後宮エンチェの独り占めなんでしょ。ルドルフとキリエが犯人だって。ルドルフ一家犯人説。ルドルフとキリエとバトラが犯人。ルドルフとキリエとバトラが犯人。後宮さんのご家族が犯人なんですって。それってどう思う？ねえねえ。でも結局財産は全てあなたが独り占めできるんでしょ。後宮エヴァはそれであなたには何も語らなかったのよね。絶対にあの子が怪しいって思ってたのよ。エヴァがあんたに辛く当たったことも全て説明がつくわ。
Man, oh man, dig the knife, why don't you?
ねえねえ、何か言ってよ。感想とか。ほんと気持ち悪い子だよね。ルドルフ一家犯人説ってどう思うか。ちょっとくらい何か言いなさいよ。感じ悪い。
A blade of air swept over me as I crouched down, holding my head. In a flash, the illusion of the goat-headed girl students who were surrounding me shattered. Please, is that Will? Is Will coming to save Angie? I want someone to save her so bad. I feel so bad for Angie. I was curled up in a puddle in a rainy rose garden surrounded by goats. But then, those goats were also sliced in half, and the upper half slid to the side. It was like seeing a master swordsman slicing through a stick of bamboo. It's gotta be him, right? Oh, that's... Voice came from the black cat. The black cat with the bell that had guided me here. Incredible that it can talk. But that doesn't matter now. That's Leon, right? I dashed after. Did they somehow jump into this game to, like, get her away from it? Or is this just a trick? The goat shrank back. A hole opened up in the encirclement. The black cat dashed through it. Well, I guess Bern did say that if they won the game, she would give Angie back, right? As I hurried through after it, the goats began to chase after me. Countless heavy footsteps thundered behind us. The cat ignored my stupid question. Where are we running to? It's obvious. As far away as we can make it. However, there was an unbelievable amount of goats. It wasn't just the group chasing us. There were probably goats hiding throughout the rose garden, and everywhere we went, a group of them would appear and block our path. Each time we bumped into them, we ran down a different path in this maze of a rose garden. So I didn't even know which direction we were running in anymore. It couldn't be that we're just running around in circles inside a massive crowd of goats, could it? When we ran into the arbor once more, I learned my fears were justified. The 4 paths that led from the arbor were all blocked by a crowd of goats. Of course, the path we had come down was also blocked by our pursuers. There was nowhere to go, nowhere to return to. We were finally trapped. With a defensive posture, the black cat glared at the goats that surrounded us. It's all over for us. At that moment, I found myself floating in the air. A massive arm, large enough to crush my entire head, had grabbed my collar from behind. Before I could even think to cry out, I saw right in front of my face a pair of strangely glowing red eyes and a massive mouth with jagged teeth and a foul breath. The mouth opened wide and writhing as though it was a separate creature, a disturbing tongue stuck itself out. Then it spat words at me. Oh, I don't know why that hurts me, the idea of Badler being the one to kill Shannon. Then that gaping, smelly mouth slowly began to close over Angie's head. Counter, that is that, Delanor. That is not Delanor. Whose voice is that? Is that Erica? A blue flash sliced off the top of the mouth that was trying to eat Angie's head, sending it flying. I fell into a puddle, along with the goat that was still grasping my collar, though there was nothing left of it above its jaw. I'm still waiting for Erica's return. Maybe this is it. Without any hesitation, the goats stretched out their thick arms as though this was their chance to snatch the prey for themselves, and they rushed towards me. All of them spoke in unison. I love that we're getting another battle scene, yes! If this is Erica, like, what an unexpected person to come in and do it. I think that's her. I think that's her. Interesting that she's using red and blue logic. I love it. I still desperately wanted to be George just because I like him less than Badler. Yeah, you can't discount George's family, right? A red flash and a blue line became blades of wind that passed over my head, flew at the goat that had tried to pick me up, and sliced both its arms off like a knife through butter. I think the next goat dashed, not towards me, but towards the black cat that was protecting me from behind. I sat on my butt, staring up at the rainy night sky. The massive goats were in the air right above me, fighting the black cat. Or someone. It is possible. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's a stretch. I love the idea. I love this idea, though, of George being a secret murderer. Perfect George. The deep red curves cut by the swings bit into the coat. I'm just imagining now George, like, secretly killing some girl who rejected him because he's Mr. Nice Guy, who's now apparently reformed. And then he just used his parents' like influence and wealth to just like bury that murder. All right, I'm going with George murder theory here. George killing someone off the island. I love that. Its massive body was knocked into the air, became a bundle of roughly 7 logs of flesh, and was thrown into the rose bushes. This time, the terrible force of the attack shocked the goats. They faltered, shook, stepped back. Finally, I understood. That red slice. It had come from a weapon that could draw red trails. No, it had also drawn blue trails just a second ago. A massive scythe that could speak both types of truth, red and blue, at will. I looked up at the sky and then let my head hang down backwards. Yeah, there she is. I never thought I'd be excited to see Erica again, but how things change. The game's good at that. There was no black cat there. I mean, I like Erica because she's actually helping us right now. It was a girl holding a large scythe. I think we had... Hold up. Let's see if it says anything different about Erica. The Witch of Truth, who made a comeback from the depths of oblivion. She is a rare anomaly, being at once a detective, a human, and a witch. Once again, she will serve her master Bernkestel in her scheming. Well, this is what's throwing me off here, is the fact that, like, she's actually going against the theory that Bern has put in her own game. Lord Badler and his wife. Hold on. Okay, I need to check this really quick because I haven't looked at these in a while. Badler, the territory lord of the game board, and his wife, Beatrice. After their wedding in the 6th game, they became a happily married couple. In the past, Badler emerged victorious at the end of his long-lasting game with Beato, and he reached the truth behind everything. The two of them have now invited Badler's little sister Ange to a final game. What sort of tale will he weave with Beato by his side? Alright, Will and Leon. While carrying out a job as an inquisitor at Bern's request, Willard met Leon. In the final stages of the tale, he rejected the tragedy presented by the Witch of Miracles. The two risked their lives wandering through the Sea of Fragments in search of a happy ending. They are now under Lady Lambda Delta's protection. Lambda Delta invited as a guest to the final game by the Territory Lord and his wife. At times in the past, she interfered with the game board along with Bernkestel, but she now remains neutral, acting as an impartial observer. She's known for having many famous friends from various circles, but the fact that Bernkestel is among them is something that should be noted with awe. Bernkestel, although she's known as the witch who controls miracles, she's also known as the witch who knows miracles don't occur, obsessed with destroying witch illusions. Even now, at a time when Beato's game board has fully served its purpose, she remains fixated on seeing them destroyed. She's known as the Miko of the great Lady Aurora, and rumor has it this backing has given her considerable influence in the Senate. I just noticed her little cat tail. That's cute. Okay, as far as I know, I don't see anything different here, but I'm really glad that I checked that out. Okay, let's go. A stir passed through the crowd of goats as they acknowledged the presence of this girl who called herself Erica. It was clear her mere existence here was potent enough to unsettle them. Clutching me in her arms, Erica leapt into the air and landed as light as a feather on top of the arbor. This is what's like, if she's working with Bernkestel, why is she helping Ange? And also cutting down the theory of this game. Then she let go of me, and still wielding her scythe, made an elegant curtsy to the crowd of goats surrounding us. Like, maybe she's gonna betray Bern, and she's gonna fight on the side of Badler, since Badler, you know, was, like, nice to her even through to the end. When Bern wasn't. Or maybe Bern has something up her sleeve with Erica. I don't know.
初対面の方々がほとんどでしょう。自己紹介です。はじめまして。こんにちは。探偵フルドエリカと申します。ルドルフ一家犯人説しか思いつかない石ころ頭どもはどうぞお引き取りを。あるいは私を論破できるおつもりでいる皆さんはどうか歓迎を。無論私も歓迎して差し上げます。
The goats all howled at once. It seemed to be a cry of shock, of fear, or possibly of wonder. The goats surrounded the arbor, chattering, but not moving any closer. None of them had the courage to stand against this detective, this witch of truth called Furudo Erica.
やれやれ、幾万と集まってこのざまですか？どなたもこのフルドエリカと論戦を楽しもうという勇気がないのですか？ ならば残念、お開きにさせていただきましょう。さりとてこのフルドエリカ、石頭の間抜け諸君を一人一人論破していくほど時間が余ってもおりません。後片付けは彼女にお願いすることとしましょう。お願いします。
Eleanor, perhaps? Oh, that's gotta be Eva Terice. When Erica cried out, red cracks opened in the dark night sky. They looked like the spiderweb-shaped fissures that appeared when a glass window had been struck hard. No, it actually was a spiderweb, colored blood red. There she is! We got everybody's coming back. This is like the new Super Smash Brothers. It's just like every player in the game is returning for this final game. A laugh, a witch's laugh, rang out through the spiderweb-covered world. I can't remember the last time she's been in a game. It sounded somehow familiar to Ange, and there, standing above the spiderweb, gazing down on the goats who must have looked like ensnared little bugs, was the witch. It was the witch who lurked inside of Eva, a witch of the future, who would one day call herself an endless witch after the cat box closed over this world. Eva swung her one-winged staff at the crowd of foolish goats beneath her and sentenced them to death. The spiderweb ceiling covering the heavens plummeted, and more spiderwebs seeped out of the ground at the goats' feet. Then the webs from above and below met, and thousands upon thousands of goats were caught in their grasp. Then, as Eva swung her staff, it swirled, around and around like egg yolk being mixed in a bowl. Eventually, it was all packed into a massive blood-red lump of goo. The moans of goats drifted out from inside. The entire crowd had been compressed into a meatball a few meters across. Well, that's her specialty. I remember when she flattened people. Who was that she did that to? Rosa? Where she, like, flattened her and killed her and brought her back to life and again and again? Alright, let me just check to see. We've got to have some info on Eva. There she is. The witch who survived the witch legend serial murder case and inherited the name of Beatrice. She uses the Eva culprit theory to refute all other theories that exist regarding the cat box. At the same time, she can use the Eva culprit theory to create endless tragedies with herself as the culprit. Perhaps she could be called the lid of the cat box, separating the inside from the outside. Of course, she knows its contents. I mean, I'm sure present-day Ange would be all too happy to say, like, I believe that theory. Still wanting to blame Eva. Squelch. No other word could do that sound justice. After sucking in all the goats, the spiderweb ball vanished into thin air with a squelch. After that, there wasn't even a trace left. Only the nighttime scenery of the rose garden remained, silent but for the sound of the falling rain. Eva drifted down from the sky. That's weird to hear her sound so nice. I knew I should be grateful, and yet it really wasn't easy for me to believe that Aunt Eva was my ally. Eva realized that too. Oh, it's just like I realize now, so like Ava's using, like she wants to protect Angie's family, so it's not out of being like ego where she's like, I won't let anyone take credit for the murders that I did. I don't want Rudolph to beat me. It's I don't want Ange to believe her family is capable of that, so I'll be the scapegoat. She giggled, spun around, and vanished. Now that she had already left, I started to regret not saying even a thank you, though I figured I should at least thank the other person who had saved me.
助けてくれてありがとう。あなたはどなたですか？
I already knew her name. What I was really asking was why she had saved me.
私は探偵フルドエリカ、そして同時に魔女でもあります。
魔女？
真実の魔女、一なる真実を追求するものです。そしてそれはあなたのことでもありますね。
Those 2 days, October 4th and 5th, 1986, I was so desperate to know what happened that I took a step off a roof of that skyscraper, drifted through several witch games and fragment worlds, and abandoned myself to this long journey with no rewards. All I want is to know what happened that day. All I want is the single truth of that day.
それを求めるのが真実の魔女です。だからあなたは私と同じなんです。だから助けに来ました。
私は知りたいの。一体あの日に何があったの？誰も教えてくれない。誰にもわからない。でも確かにあの日に何かがあったの。私はそれを知るためなら何だって投げ出せる。それだけが私が命を捨てても知りたい唯一のことなの。だから教えて。あなたは知っているの？一体この島で何があったの？
真実の魔女にとって真実は与えられるものですか？私がこれが真実だとあなたに押し付けたなら、あなたはそれを鵜呑みにする気ですか？
それは違う。
バトラさんはあなたに今日何を見せてくれましたか？
Today, Oni-chan showed me a bizarre Halloween party. It may have been heartwarming and a lot of fun, but it definitely wasn't the truth.
バトラさんはそれを真実だと言ってあなたに見せてくれたのではないのですか？
違う。あんなの真実じゃない。
時に他人は真実だと称して私たちを惑わします。しかし真実の魔女はそれに惑わされることなく一なる真実を追求しなければならないのです。
I don't know what to think right now. It feels like this is Erica trying to lead. She could very well be leading Ange down the path of the actual truth, away from what Badler is trying to show her. I feel like Badler is trying to show her something, trying to get her to be like, even if you don't believe this is the truth. Ah, man, it's really making me think. I'm like, or is Erica working as like a sleeper agent for Bern, being like, I'll show you, you know, what the truth is, even if it's horrible. I don't know what to think at this point. Because I want to believe Badler is right about, like, Angie just had negative beliefs in, like, who Kinzo was and who Eva was, but, like, it's just because it's a combination of, like, what she's been told by other people, by the media, by the public, and, like, her being a kid and not, like, maybe remembering Kinzo wrong as, like, a scary old man because that's what other people told her, and same with Eva. So he's like trying to show her like this is the truth of who they really were.
だからあなたはバトラさんの押し付ける偽りの真実などに納得できない。
Yeah, it does seem like Angie is being pulled in two different directions here.
本当の一なる真実を求めてやまないのです。
Oni-chan is trying to muddy the waters. I felt that this whole time. Even though he knows everything about what happened that day, he won't tell me anything at all. How is he any different from Aunt Eva, who mocked me and refused to tell me anything, even until the very moment of her death? Why won't Oni-chan tell me?
どうして教えてくれないの？
The dam inside my head, my heart bursts.
どうしてお兄ちゃんは私に本当のことを教えてくれないの？どうして私だけ知らない。私だけ誰も教えてくれない。教えてよ。あの日に何があったのか教えてよ、お兄ちゃん。お兄ち
I cried out at the rainy night sky. Hot tears poured from my eyes, but they were covered by the cold rain that beat against me, so no one other than me would know that they were tears. No one would know my pain and sadness. I'm always the one left out, all alone.
教えてよ誰かあの日に何があったのか私に教えて誰にも教えられません真実は自分で手にしなければならないからです真実はどこにあるのどうやったら至れるのみんなが隠す教えてくれない私の手で自ら至るからお願いだから真実がどこに隠されているのかだけでも教えていいわ教えてあげてもいい
As that voice rang out, the world bent and swirled. Oh, this is like where Bern and Angie first met all that time ago. After blinking several times, I realized the world had become a sea of stars. No, that's not quite right. There are stars up there in the sky, but those lights below me aren't stars. They're lights from building windows, street lights, car lights. I was floating in the dark sky over a city lined with skyscrapers.
あなたに真実を教えることはできないでもどうやったら真実に至ることができるのかその道を指し示してあげることはできるわあんたは
Various bad memories are jumping out at me from the back of my mind. That's right. I was chained in place in that strange theater thing, and forced to watch a repulsive fragment where Mom and Dad committed murder.
あれを真実だとは言ってないわ
I thought she did. I thought she said it in the Red Truth. Yeah, right?
あんたが大声で遮ったから続きが書き消えただけよ
Oh.
これは全て真実とは限らないと続けようとした
Oh, yes, I'm sure you were. And yet, when Angie was having her breakdown, you certainly didn't try and stop and be like, wait, let me finish, because you were just enjoying her agony too much.
あんたはどこまで私をもてあそぶ気なのよそれは謝るわでも試したかったの何をよあなたがどのようなものであれ真実を受け止める覚悟があるのかどうかを真実は時として期待を裏切るわあるいは最も望まない形をとることもあるあなたに見せたあのかけらはおそらくあなたにとっては想像しうる限りの一でもそれに耐えてでも真実を求める力と勇気がなければあなたには真実に近づく資格はないの
Okay. So this is like a tough love thing? Alright, sure. Her being like, well, since you saw that, you should be able to accept anything else that you were able to see, and it's not going to be nearly as bad, unless somehow that one that we saw in Bern's game with Badler also being part of it is the truth, which we know it's not, obviously, because Eva didn't live. That would be the worst for her if it truly was her mom, dad, and brother who pulled off the murders. I have no comeback. Finding the truth is my goal. I just want to know what happened on that island on that day. I don't think of myself as wanting to hear only the facts that are pleasing to me. Have I really been prepared to face the bloody, unbearable truth that's probably waiting there for me? If I find the truth, it'll mean having to confront my family's tragic end directly and accept it as it is. And accepting that means abandoning any faint hope for that convenient miracle, the idea that one of them might have survived somehow, and might return even though 12 years have passed. Even though I know a miracle like that would be completely ridiculous. If I'm honest with myself, I have to admit the faint hope it brought me has given me comfort these past 12 years. I want to know the truth, but I want one of them to come back. Those two wishes contradict each other. By learning the truth, I'll be forced to accept that no one's coming home.
真実はいつだって残酷よ時にそれは自分の希望を刈り取りさえする多くの場合人間は真実を得ることに対する対価に気づいていない私はあなたにその覚悟があるのかどうか問いかけただけ
I must choose between my two contradicting wishes. Will I find the truth and abandon my optimistic hopes for my family's return? Or will I give up on the truth and keep waiting for the family that's never actually going to come back, deceiving my numb self forever with the childish illusion my brother provided for me?
聞かせて、エンジェ。あなたに真実を知ろうとする覚悟は本当にあるの？あるわ。その決意は揺るがない。揺るがないわ。
After hearing my immediate reply, Bernkastel stared at me. Are those expressionless eyes of hers measuring my resolve? Now that my brother has even gone to the lengths of becoming a game master to cover up the truth, the only thing I can rely on in my search for the truth is the path that Bernkastel can show me.
あなたの瞳の奥に真実を追い求める者の輝きを見たわ。教えてくれるの？私に真実に至る道を。ええ、あなたを導いてあげる。忘れたの？エンジェ。だって私はあなたの後見人でしょ。
Oh, now after all the stuff she's done, now she's playing it up. It's like, but I'm trying to help you. Truly. It's like, no, she's trying to beat Badler at his ultimate game by like having kind of like drawing his sister away from what he wants her to choose. When did I last hear Bernkastel use that word? That's right. At the very beginning, I met her in this future world and became a witch with her as my guardian. That's when I became the Beatrice of 1998, the one who could defeat the Beatrice of 1986.
あなたは1998年のベアトリーチェ。エンジェ・ベアトリーチェ。私が後見人となってあなたを魔女と認めた。でもあなたはベアトと同じ無限の魔女ではないわ。真実の魔女。そう、エリカと同じ。あなたは一なる真実を求め、いかなるまやかしにも騙されることはない。真実の魔女。エンジェ・ベアトリーチェにはいちなる真実にたどり着く力があるのね。あるわ。でもあなたにはその力をこれまで使うことはできなかった。どうしてかわかる？今ならわかるわ。私は真実を求めながら、その一方で真実を知ることを無意識に拒んでいた。そう。あなたは真実を求めながらも、真実を知ることで家族が帰ってくるかもしれないという奇跡が失われることを無意識に恐れた。だから一なる真実に手を伸ばす資格がなかった。言われるままだわ。私には甘えがあったことを認めなくちゃならない。
I must admit it, my entire family is dead, and with recognition of that fact, I must expose why they died and who is behind it.
ありがとう。あの薄暗い劇場で見せられたかけらは、そんな私の目を。
Well, we certainly had to turn around. It's like some Stockholm syndrome or something where she's like, thank you for showing me that horrible thing. I see it was for my own, you know, it was for the best. You were doing that to help me.
あなたが本当の意味で真実の魔女となってくれるのを待つために、随分と多くのゲームを重ねることになったわね。でもその全てに意味があったと思う。この最後の最後のゲームであなたは真実の魔女に至れたのだから。教えて、あの日あの島で何があったの？それを直接教えろなんて言わないわ。だから指し示して、私は何をすれば真実に至ることができるの？ここは少し涼しすぎるわ。場所を移しましょう。どこへ？マシな紅茶が飲める場所へよ。
Massive applause filled the hall. It was applause in honor of a good fight. Applause in honor of Bernkastel. Kind of forgot about them, gotta admit. Bern's like, yeah, I lost this game, but I got another thing going on. I will destroy you, Battler. You don't even know it yet.
みんなにも彼女のゲーム版を公開するので、ぜひ挑戦してみてほしい。かなりの力作だぜ。
結局は解かれてしまったけれどね。
誰にも解けないゲームなんてゲームじゃないわ。肝心なのは面白かったかどうかよ。
And it was fun. I really did enjoy that. I wish that they would... I understand why they don't do stuff like that more in this game. But that was a lot of fun. I want a game that's just stuff like that, where that's the whole game. Like just a true mystery game.
面白かったぞ。そこはわらわも保証する。
俺もだ。最初はこんなの解けるわけがないって思ったが、一つずつ有効になる紫発言を使い、容疑者を絞っていくあたりは、パズル的な面白さがあったぜ。
さあみんな集まれ集まれ。
ベルンカステル教の推理ゲームってどんなのかしら。
それはやってみてのお楽しみ。
Objects resembling chessboards were set out on several tables. Crowds gathered around each other, looking down with interest.
ほうほう。これは論理パズルのようだね。
Now this to me, this looks like this would be a fun party. Good food, lots of good food, good atmosphere, and it's just people just solving puzzles, solving mysteries. I love that.
なかなかの正統派ではありませんか。
これが魔女のゲームってものなんだね。
Like an even more bumped up, fantastical version of like a board game night, which I also love.
はあ、こうやって見るとただのゲームなんだよな。でもこれコマにとってはとんでもない大事件なんだぜ。
それもそうですな。
せっかくのベルンカステル教の手土産です。楽しませていただきましょう。
しかしこれは難解ですね。本当に解けるようにできているのかどうかさえ怪しくないですか。
解けるようにできていることをまず信じろ。問題は解けるように出されていると出題者を信頼して初めて思考の戦いは始まる。
その点は俺たちも保証するぜ。さあさあ、ぜひ挑戦してみてくれ。
With Battler's encouragement, discussions over Bernkastel's mystery game began at each table. The mix of humans and fantasy creatures in heated discussion was truly a sight to behold. Beato and Bernkastel sat in a chair far off from the discussions.
お茶にご希望はございますか。
わらわには何か落ち着く紅茶が良い。それをミルクティーにしてくれぬか。
かしこまりました。ベルンカステル教は何かご希望はございますか。
紅茶に梅干しを沈めてちょうだい。まずい紅茶を飲みやすくするコツよ。
Oh my gosh, damn. Harsh.
そうへそを曲げるなというのだ。そなたのゲームは実に面白かったと称えているというのに。
Since she had emerged victorious in the game Bernkastel had put all her heart into, the look on Beato's face was positively gleeful.
別にへそを曲げてなんかいないわよ。私はもともとこういう顔よ。
Like, I just have resting bitch face. That's not something that existed in the 80s. That term hadn't existed, but that she's she's like the OG.
そんな表情の中にベルンなりの温かみを見出せた時にね、私は真っ暗闇の雪山の頂上で美しい星を見つけたような気持ちになるのよ。
悪かったわね。顔がいつも万年雪で。
やれやれ。ベルンカステル教を称えることは難しい。なんと褒めても嫌味と受け取られてしまうぞ。
大丈夫よ。後でしみじみと噛みしめるタイプだから。
ほうほう。ベッドの中で枕を抱きながら噛みしめるタイプか。
そうそう。そんな感じそんな感じ。
Beato and Lambda Delta giggled together. Bernkastel shrugged and looked away.
でもよ、よくひねった。面白いゲームだったぜ。
そう、ありがとう。
解けないようにも作れるのに。お前はちゃんと解けるように作ったもんな。それはゲームを楽しもうというフェア精神がなけりゃできないことだ。
私は絶対に勝てるゲームが好きよ。勝てないかもしれないゲームなんて
That's
め
what
んどくさい。
I've been saying. Like that game that she made for them, that was just like the appetizer. That's not her true goal. Her true goal is with Angie. That's why she's like, she made that to be solvable, maybe because deep down, like, she doesn't care. She's like, sure, I'll let you guys have that little game that you can win at. But I'm like, but I am going to corrupt your sister. That's my true game.
今度は講師を逆にしてゲームをしたいな。俺が出題して、それにあんたが挑戦する。あんたが俺に勝つゲームだ。もちろん、これまでのベアトとの戦いで培ったノウハウの全てをつぎ込んだ超難解なゲームにするぜ。俺が2連勝しちまうくらいのつもりのな。
あんたもベアトも、あんたたちってつくづく面白い考え方ね。
何事？
ゲームは勝敗を決するための手段でしょ。そしてそれを仕掛けるからには至上目的は自分の勝利のはずなのに、自分が負けるかもしれないゲームをどうしてわざわざ仕掛けるの？
絶対に勝てるゲームなんてつまらないだろ。そんなのゲームじゃない。
That's true. Like I'm not quite on Bern's level of being a sore loser, but I do hate to lose. But if you know that you're gonna win going in, then yeah, like that's not fun. Just makes it all the sweeter when you do.
勝つか負けるか、そのフェアなやりとりが面白いんじゃないか。ゲームってのは戦いじゃない、コミュニケーションなんだ。その過程を楽しむ。
Look at how Badler's grown, because at the beginning he did see it as a fight between him and Beato, and now as he's kind of like understood her game, now it is about like communication and seeing things from other people's points of views rather than fighting with someone. It's just like, well, let's cooperate together, let's figure out this together.
勝敗という結果はまあおまけみたいなもんさ。
やっとベアトたちと私の考えの何が違うの？
Whereas her, it's all about
はっきり
winning.
と理解でき
It's
たわ。
all she cares about.
違いって？
あんたたちにはコミュニケーション、私にはそうでないということよ。
お前ずいぶん殺伐とした世界に生きてるんだな。
あんただってベアとのゲームを理解するまではそうだったはずよ。永遠のゲームは永遠の拷問。その苦しみをあんたはもうきれいさっぱり忘れてしまったというの？
確かにそう思った日もあった。しかしもう決着はついた。そうなれば過去のことはぐちぐち言わない。ノーサイドってやつだ。
そこに私とあんたの致命的な違いがある気がするわ。あんたにとっての永遠の拷問は笑って水に流せる程度のものだった。私にとってのそれはそんな生優しいものではなかった。そういうことだわ。
あんたの生い立ちは知らねえが苦労があったみたいだな。
なりごまごときのあんたに同情されるとは私も焼きが回ったもんね。
Badler's just too nice, too good. Like even after all the stuff she put him through and Angie through, he's still like trying to sympathize with her and understand her point of view. Berncastel, sipping the black tea that Genji had brought her, gazed up at the ceiling with a faraway look. Badler may not have known her history, but even he was able to understand a bit of how she felt.
今のあんたは誰かの拷問に苛まれているのか？
まさか私は自由人よ。誰の束縛も受けない。
ならよかったじゃねえか。少なくとも昔とは違う。
そうね、昔に比べたらだいぶマシだわ。退屈から逃げおおせるための 長い長い終わりのない旅だけれど。
ならこの出会いは少なくともお前にとってはいいもののはずだ。
そうね、敗北の味も多少は退屈から私を遠ざけてくれるわ。
No, no. Badler was shaking his head and laughing.
俺たちはフェアなゲームを戦って楽しんだ。
だから
もしお前の日々が退屈から逃げ回るためだけのものだというなら、
I'm surprised she didn't say anything about like, we're not friends. Don't get it twisted.
たまには俺たちのところに寄るといい。俺たちは友人を歓迎する。そして友人を退屈から逃すためにいろいろなもてなしやねぎらいをするだろう。
この大ベルンカステルを一夜とて退屈から逃すもてなしをあんたらができると。
ああ、それが友人ってもんだ。今夜のゲームでは俺たちが勝った。だから次に来るときは攻守を逆にしよう。今度は俺たちのゲームであんたをもてなす。もちろんあっさりと勝ちを譲るつもりはないぜ。とことんひねった極悪な推理ゲームで挑戦してやるぜ。一夜で解かせるつもりなんかねえ。それこそ数ヶ月頭をひねって滞在する羽目になるくらいのを用意してやるぜ。
この大ベルンカステルを友人としてもてなすと。
ああ、そうだ。
あんたたちに付き合ってるとせっかくの梅干し紅茶もなんだかベタベタに甘くなってくるわ。やってらんない。
ベアトに聞いたぜ。梅干し紅茶とやらが好物なんだってな。金箔まぶした最高級梅干しを紅茶に放り込んでやるから、それを楽しみにしてまた来いってんだ。
He's such a good host.
もし本気でそう思ってるなら
Damn, and she's
も
so
う少しはマシな紅
savage.
茶を用意することね。
Goda's just crying in the kitchen.
こんなまずい紅茶じゃ二度と来てやろうという気にはならないわ。
やれやれ。普段はよっぽどお上品な紅茶を飲んでやがるらしいぜ。むしろ今度その紅茶が飲めるところに招待しやがれ。
あんたは私が
フェアだろ。俺たちももてなす。だからお前も俺たちをもてなせ。
そうね、フェアだわ。
だからゲームもフェアに行こう。攻守を交代してまたゲームをしようぜ。その機会を楽しみにしている。今回は俺たちの勝ちだったが、次はわからねえさ。
そこまでおごれれば大したものだわ。でもね、あんたは一つ勘違いをしているわ。
何をだよ。
私のゲームは
Exactly.
まだ終わっ
He's
ちゃいない
playing
の。
4D chess.
最後に勝つのはどちらかしらね。
Surprised Badler hasn't asked about Angie at all, being like, so our game is done. Are you going to bring her back? You think that something like that might kind of make him raise an eyebrow or something, knowing what a sore loser she is. After taking one more sip of her black tea, Bernkistel set her cup on the table, wearing a thin smile. Maybe he will realize something's
ここ
wrong.
の紅茶は甘すぎて飲めたもんじゃないわ。源氏、ありがとう。下げてちょうだい。
かしこまりました。
Bernkestel asked for her tea to be taken away after taking only 2 sips. Badler smiled, realizing this was just Bernkestel's way of being shy. I don't know about that. Badler, why are you smiling with such a foolish, carefree face? If you really think this final game will be nothing but a happy epilogue, then I'll have to invite you all to a proper game for bringing this tale to a close. Badler, you forget things too easily. Don't you remember in whose hands lie the key to this final game? The inside of my nose itched. I'd never regained consciousness to a smell before. Ah, this is what is her name? Featherine. We're gonna see her again, I guess. It would make sense, right? Considering the gang's all here for this final chapter, so of course we gotta see her too. Slowly, I opened my eyes. Wait, when did I lose consciousness in the first place? I don't remember going to sleep or falling unconscious. That's right. Bernkastel invited me to come to a place better for drinking tea. That's when my memory gets hazy. And since the smell of black tea is what woke me up.
ここはアウアウローラの書斎よ。
Or Aurora. Aurora.
当時の趣味がいいことだけはたとえあいつであっても認めざるを得ないところだわ。
I was sitting on what appeared to be a sofa in a dimly lit study. Bernkastel sat across from me. And right before my eyes was a beautiful cup filled with steaming hot tea.
ここは確か
I remembered. I've been here before. Wasn't it?
久しぶりだな、人の子よ。
Yes, that voice. Just hearing it brings back memories.
久しぶりじゃない、我が主。
I love how she's just so blasé about it all. I mean, Angie's seen just about everything, so nothing phases her anymore.
そなたを再び我が書斎に招けるとは思わなかったぞ。まさかそなたたちのゲームにまだ続きがあろうとはな。続きなんて甘いものじゃない。これが本当の最後のピリオドのゲームよ。
Alright, let's check out her profile here. Okay. Oh my gosh, yeah, there's so many. Featherine Augustus Aurora, the majestic witch of theater-going, drama, and spectating. She is tired of life after 1,000 years and constantly repeats a cycle of life and death. In the past, she served as the master for numerous games as a legendary witch, but her legend, glory, and memory have already disappeared into the past and been forgotten. Only the solemn medal she wears on her chest retains those memories. The horseshoe-shaped object floating around her head is a memory aid device. It records her name, appearance, and other aspects of her personality. She's so old she would not be able to preserve her own individuality without it. I don't think there's any new information there, really. The majestic witch of theater-going, drama, and spectating. Once in the past, I was summoned by her in order to be her reader, or Miko.
まさか私をまた朗読役に？そなたを呼んだのは私ではない。我が巫女がそなたと私を引き合わせたのだ。何のために？決まってるじゃない。あんたに真実に至るための道しるべを示すためよ。フェザリーヌが私に示してくれるの？私は感激の魔女だ。舞台の上の役者に干渉することはあまり好まぬのだがな。バトラの退屈な芝居を感激するのと、私の手による運命の分岐を司る刺激的な芝居を感激するのと、退屈に1分1秒だって耐えられないくせに。
As Featherine rocked her rocking chair, she looked up at the ceiling and chuckled. She clearly holds some key to the truth I seek.
鍵を握っているのは文字通りそなたではないか。私にできるのはその鍵で開けることのできる
Right.
鍵穴を教えることだ
The
けだ。
key that Ange has,
人の子よ。
that we're probably physically going to have to unlock a certain ending, whichever ending we choose, whether we choose Badler's ending or Bernkastel's ending. I don't remember saying anything out loud, but Featherine answered my question as though I had. Come to think of it, that's right. Featherine can read the thoughts of a mere child of man like me as easily as she can hear me speak. Well, I guess that will help us get to the point quicker.
この鍵はお兄ちゃんがくれた。でも使うべき時に使い方がわかるみたいなことを言って、何に使えばいいのかは教えてくれなかったわ。あんたたちは知ってるの？この鍵は何？お兄ちゃんはとても大切なものだと言っていた。我が巫女よ、説明せよ。いやよ、あんたが説明しなさい。 主に説明をさせようというのか？たまにはその程度の舞台参加もしなさいよ。ボケ防止にいいわよ。やれやれ、エンジェの朗読の時に久々の舞台を堪能したので、もう数百年は十分だと思っていたのだがな。教えて、この鍵は何なの？そなたの決断を具現化したものだ。この物語は、ゲームはそなたにある決断を求める
Yeah, they're really
ことが
drilling it
終わりを
in.
迎える。
I'll have to make that choice at the end. Of course, I will watch whatever, like, you know, however many endings, both endings. I assume there's 2 endings. So, of course, I will see both of them, but I'll have to, like, decide what is my ultimate choice.
その決断するという行為を鍵の形に具現化したものがそなたのそれだ。私の決断を具現化したもの。そういうこと。最終的にあんたはおそらくバトラからその鍵で開けられる2枚の扉の前に立たされ、どちらの扉を開くか選択を迫られるでしょうね。それくらいは聞かされてる？
I bet that's exactly how it's going to happen, too, is, like, they're actually going to present physically 2 doors to open with the key.
何も教えてくれない。しかるべき時が来ればみたいなことしか言わないの。お兄ちゃんも誰も何も教えてくれない。バトラはそなたの自由意志による選択を尊重したいのであろうな。でもエンジェ、もううすうすは気づき始めてるんじゃない？何を？バトラはあんたに選ばせたい答えがあるんじゃない？
Those words made my heart jump in my chest. I've been thinking that Oni-chan is probably trying to distance me from the truth, to gloss over it with a vague tale that's almost like a daydream. At the 1986 family conference, everyone had a wonderful time as they faded away. Everyone is smiling down on you from heaven, so you don't need to feel alone, even in 1998. So give it your all and live on by yourself. I get the very strong sense that Oni-chan is intending to end it just like that. And every time I ask him about it, he dodges the issue and says something about how the decision will be mine in the end.
その通りよ。バトラは一見あなたに公平な選択肢を与えるように見えて、実際はあなたにはっきりとある一方の選択肢を選ばせようと画策している。そのための茶番のような物語をあなたはすでに延々と見せられているでしょう。
That unbelievably bizarre Halloween party. Everyone so strangely friendly it was almost sickening. I've already seen more than enough of that tale, so sickly sweet it makes me want to vomit. Where Ushiromiya Kinzo showered me with affection, where his children swore to support each other, where everyone was filled with happiness and hope. Whatever, I liked it. It felt kind of like, after all the horrible things that I've seen in this game, it was nice to just have everyone be pleasant with each other, but it feels like Bern's really kind of like manipulating her. I feel like Battler's got some other reason for doing what he did. I think it's just a thing of like, he wants Angie to not have such negative feelings about her family and to try and see the, I guess maybe more sanitized version of it, but I don't feel like it's just Battler telling Angie to, you know, live in a daydream.
仲良し小良しで煙に巻いて私を真実から遠ざけようとしている。お兄ちゃんは卑怯だわ。確かにそなたから見れば卑怯とも呼べよう。しかしそなたはこのゲームのプレイヤーであり、バトラがゲームマスターだというなら、それは何を意味するというのか。かつてバトラはプレイヤーで、ベアとはゲームマスターだったわ。そして二人はそれぞれの真実のために戦ったわ。そして今度は私がプレイヤーで、ゲームマスターはお兄ちゃんだわ。
Could it be that I've misunderstood everything from the very beginning? Oni-chan said he'd tell me what happened that day, so I was under the impression that I would learn everything if I followed him. How would that be any different than, say, Oni-chan accepting everything Beato said about the crimes being the work of a witch? What a stupid mistake I've been making.
このゲームは私とお兄ちゃんの戦いのゲームだったの？
I don't want to believe that. I don't want to see it that way.
それを理解せずにゲームに臨んでいたとは驚きだ。バトラは狡猾だわ。それをあんたに理解させずに最後のゲームをさっさと始めてしまった。まあ、かつてのベアとのゲームもそうだったわ。バトラはわけもわからないうちに彼女のゲームに巻き込まれていた。戦い方さえわからずにね。だから私が教えたわ。今度も同じよ。わけのわからないうちにゲームを始められてしまったあんたに私は教えに来たのよ。あんたは誰と何を戦うゲームをしているのかをね。
I was too shocked to speak. And finally, I realized what I needed to accomplish in this game. I've always been passive. I was sure Oni-chan would tell me everything, so I naively thought I just had to believe whatever he said.
違ったのよ。そうじゃない。
This game is a battle between me, the one who wants to reach the truth, and Oni-chan, who wants to trick me and chase me out into a 1998 where I'm all alone. I feel like he's got, maybe he even predicted, like, by inviting Bern that, like, this would happen, although he seemed surprised that there could be two game masters, but he must have known she might do something like this. So maybe this was part of the plan too? I don't know. All this time I've kept on saying that Oni-chan was foolish and naive, and now I see I was more naive than anyone else. Despite this, Berncastel didn't sneer at me. On the contrary, she looked at me with that cold gaze as if to say, so you're finally taking the first step.
理解できた？自分とその鍵の意味。
I gripped the key Oni-chan had hung around my neck, and for a while I shook with an emotion that even I couldn't understand. Now that I know Oni-chan tricked me, it would be easy to hate him, but hating him would be missing the point. After all, this is a game between me and him. Oni-chan has done nothing but make the optimal moves to win against me. If games aren't just a playful way to communicate, if they're the process that decides who wins and who loses. Now there's that thing about communication versus winning and losing. Like, Battler's trying to communicate something to Ange, whereas Bern just wants to win. I guess Ange, quote-unquote, wants to win too, because she wants the truth. Then there can be no fair games. The best strategy is obviously to hit your opponent with a sneak attack and defeat them before they even know what's going on, never even telling them the rules. But we know based on Battler's, like, how that whole conversation we had with Bern, that's not the way he sees games. He wants it to be fair. I don't think he's trying to trick Ange. In that sense, Oni-chan hasn't done anything wrong. He's using that sickly sweet illusion to trick me and force me out into a lonely future. They'll be the only ones having a good time in the cat box, and I'll be the only one chased out.
ありがとう。感謝するわ。
And Ange thanking Bern like, thank you for helping me see. Like, she's totally manipulating her.
ようやく本当の意味で目が覚めた気がす
Then
る。
again, that's my belief about it. Just based on what Bern said about how she hates losing games. I don't believe that she's doing this out of the goodness of her heart to help Ange.
バトラを憎まないであげて。ゲームマスターとは本来相手を一方的に騙すものなのだから。分かってるわよ。お兄ちゃんはお兄ちゃんの立場で最善を尽くした。ただそれだけということよ。なら私も私の立場で最善を尽くさなきゃ。
My goal is now clear. October 4th and 5th, 1986. What happened on Rokenjima that day? I need to tear off the veil covering the truth. Nothing more, nothing less.
お兄ちゃんは私にこの鍵をお兄ちゃんが望む鍵穴に入れさせたいのでしょうね。そのために私に延々と甘ったるい幻想を見せつけた。でももうごまかされないわ。私は私の望む扉を自ら選んで開く。ぼんやりとバトラの言いなりになっているエンジェよりはこの方が確かに私の好む物語であるな。じゃあ続きを今度こそあんたに任せるわ。エンジェに教えてあげて。 真実に至る鍵
Ooh,
穴を
okay.
教えて、私にその鍵穴を。いいだろう。まずは腰を下ろすがよい。今持ってこようぞ。
Oh, okay. Am I gonna be making that choice right now? No. When Featherine rose from her rocking chair, my vision seemed to twist and bend. What? Some kind of interference? Why now, when Featherine's about to show me something important? Oh, maybe Badler's caught on something's going on. Maybe he's trying to, like... Maybe he is trying to step in and do something to stop this from happening? Is my head getting suddenly... I dug my fingernails into my knees, clenching my teeth to keep from losing consciousness. However, the world just kept twisting more and more, except for the feel of the sofa beneath me. I couldn't sense anything at all.
Ojo.
Hey, Amakusa! Oh, we're back into the... It's so hard to keep track of, like, where she is. So she's in the quote-unquote the real world of, like, the author version of Featherine. I can't remember what her name is. The door opened. Oh, yeah. And Hachijo Toya appeared. What's going on? This isn't the world of witches, but the world of humans? I was sitting on a sofa, and Amakusa was behind me. There's no need to feel confused. Featherine and Hachijo Toya are the same being. To her, the difference between the two worlds is a trivial thing. To put it in the words of that lover of theater-going, it's like having a slightly different background behind the stage. So there was no reason for me to feel hesitant. Just cutting right to the, cutting right to it. No preamble, no small talk.
ここに私とあなたがいることに何の変わりもないのに、あなたは私を何と呼べばいいのか迷わねばならない。
Is Amakusa in the corner just being like, wait, what? Like, assuming that he thinks this is their first time meeting?
フェザリーヌと呼ぶのもあなたにとっては無粋というわけだわ。役者にとって自分の演ずる役の名前など仮のものでしかない。そういうことだ、人の子よ。
Exactly. He's just like, what the fuck is happening? Amakusa's eyes went wide as he wondered what I was suddenly talking about. I ignored him and continued.
それで、あなたは私に何を見せてくれるの?
As I spoke, my eyes were caught by that heavy-looking object she held under her arm. At a glance, it looked like an encyclopedia with a fancy binding.
これをご存知ですか?
As Featherine spoke, she set the heavy object on the table. Oh, shit. It's the book from the very beginning. It's like one of the stories, maybe, of Badlers? My first thought was of a grimoire, or maybe Beato's? The heavy book had a mysterious, mystical feel to it, like something Maria Oni-chan might carry around. And the most remarkable feature of it was the large, sturdy lock that held it shut. Why would someone go so far to keep people from reading a book?
手に取り、裏をご覧になるといいでしょう。
I flipped the heavy book over on my lap. And as soon as I saw it, I gave a small gasp. Oh. What? Without a doubt, those words were written there in English letters. Oh. Ooh. And I've got the key right now. I could open it if I want to.
あんた、何か知ってるの?
噂程度ですがね。エヴァ会長は秘密の日記を持っていて、それには厳重に錠前をかけていて、出先に行く時も必ず持って行ってたって話は護衛仲間から聞いたことがあります。
秘密の日記、それがどうしてここに? 後宮エヴァが息を引き取った病室にあったものです。
Oh, okay. I was thinking like maybe it had been locked up, like with the same way that Beato had all the gold and everything and the keys locked up for anybody, like the people, the family of the dead relatives from Rokonjima. The diary was hidden behind her bed, so it remained in that room for some time after her death before it was found. Well, obviously, she knew eventually somebody was going to find it. I wonder if she eventually was going to let Ange have it. Be like, I might not tell you the truth while I'm still alive, but eventually, you know, if you want to. Because, like, if she really wanted to hide that diary where no one would find it, she could. It was probably someone who worked for the hospital, or else a patient or their family who happened to find it. Of course, by that time, there's a huge movement dedicated to the Rokonjima mystery. A locked diary found in the hospital room where Ushiromiya Eva spent her last moments would be absolutely priceless. The discoverer probably handed it over in secret to one of the witch hunters who would be able to accurately determine its worth. Luckily, the witch hunters who got their hands on this book were all noble and upright people. Not content to boorishly destroy the lock and reveal the truth, they simply satisfied themselves with the fact the truth of that day slumbered just on the other side of this mysterious lock. Thanks to that, Ava's diary had remained undamaged to this very day.
後宮家長男クラウスの妻ナツヒは日々の不満やうっせきを日記に記すことでそれを封印するというある種のまじないをしていたことがすでに知られています。同じことをエヴァおばさんもやっていたと。
可能性はありますな。その日記の蝶つがいを外すのはたとえ鍵があったとしてもかなり面倒だ。まるでギチギチのコルセットみたいに封印してやがる。
Amakusa was right. This wasn't a diary made to be casually opened and reminisced over. It's probably safe to assume this diary was used to forget things by writing them down and sealing them away, just like Ushiromiya Natsui's. And on top of that, Eva brought it with her into her hospital room, and hid it behind the bed without telling anyone about it.
まさかこの日記にエヴァおばさんがあの日何があったのかを記していると。中を読めば全てがわかるでしょう。しかしその錠前を外す鍵の行方が
We have it, right? I jumped. Then I looked down at my chest. That's where my brother hung that key. Oh no. Oh, it doesn't exist in this world.
どうしたんですお嬢。鍵って。
私がずっと首にかけてたでしょ。
俺は知りませんぜ。鍵なんざぶら下げてましたか。
I understood almost immediately. In the world of humans, I haven't found the key. The me with the key is on the game board in the world of witches.
鍵を持っている私に戻して。この日記を開けるわ。
Featherine lifted a finger, spun it around, and the world twisted again. Oh, well, that was easy. When I returned to Featherine's study, the key faded back into existence, hanging from my neck. But at the same time, the diary on my lap faded out of existence. Oh, she can't be in the two worlds. She can't be in the same world where both things exist at once.
ゲーム版のどこかに存在するだろう。そなたに与えられる鍵穴の一つである以上、必ずどこかに存在するはず。お兄ちゃんがどこかに隠している。バトラがあんたとのゲームを気取る以上、それはおそらく完全な意味では隠されていないわ。
Well, no, it's in the church, right? Like we saw it right at the very beginning of the game.
どういう意味？
Kind of like a hidden in plain sight.
バトラにとって奪われたくないキングであっても、それはゲーム版に置かれていなければゲームとして成立せぬということ。つまりあの後ろ宮家のどこかにあったということ。あるいはすでにそなたには一
Right?
度
Yes, exactly.
目にする機会が与えられているのかもしれぬ。詐欺師が一番最初に見せる契約書に極小の字にてすでに悪辣なる罠が記してあるかのように。バトラがゲームマスターとしてミステリーの作法とやらにのっとるなら手がかりは必ず提示され、バトラが負ける選択肢も必ず提示されている。エンジェ、思い出しなさい。あんたはすでにバトラの世界
Yes,
で
yes.
エヴァの日記を見ているはずよ。
In that instant, from the back of my mind, drifted the very first scene of this final game. In that chapel. A book lying on the altar, a book with a lock on it. As soon as I showed interest in that book, my brother suddenly got serious and told me not to touch it.
あれがエヴァおばさんの日記。そうよ、後宮エヴァの日記。あの日の真実を記した一なる真実の書。一なる真実の書。それに本当の真実が記されているの。だってそれはエヴァおばさんの妄言の可能性も。赤き真実で私が断じよう。後宮エヴァの日記。
Okay.
一なる真実の書には1986
Alright,
年
alright,
10
alright.
月4日から5日にかけての六軒島の真実が記されている。
Well, things just got more interesting. It looks like we might be coming to the final choice pretty soon. Alright, and with that, it looks like we are going to be getting closer to the end here with at least one of the decisions that Angie will have to make, which is whether or not she wants to open up Ava's diary. So I'm wondering if the other choice is to just not open it. Bern was saying about how, like, Adler will probably give you 2 doors with which to open the key, but it seems like the door is the book. I guess that is the question is... So I guess at the end of the day, it's up to me to decide, do I, as Angie, choose to trust Badler and why he's showing me the things he's showing me? I have to believe that there's a reason to it, or do I trust Bernkastel, who seems to be on my side about finding out the single truth, which I do want to know. Of course I want to know what the truth is, but I also don't want to betray Badler's game. Like I said, I will definitely be seeing both options, but it's doing a really good job about making me kind of second guess what Badler's doing, because Angie wants to know the truth, and I want her to find out the truth for her sake, but I'm almost afraid of what is in that book. So either way, really good episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned next week for part 93. Until then, bye. Special shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Kiori Makoto, SM, Revealing Storm, Tequila Mockingbird, Asborn Kennedy, Harry Gazif, iCognito, Jared Fan, Joel Oostman, and Zoran Ether.